out of the house, gets in the truck. Charlie runs in front of the truck and fires 4 times directly into the truck. He hit him in the shoulder, in the chest, and Gino comes running up and he pumps the whole 5 bullets from his .38 into the truck. They run to the car, and we go.
Miraculously, Martinez survived. Scarfo was losing his battle against the Riccobene crime family. Cops and reporters were starting to refer to Scarfo's men as the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Scarfo's famous temper was rising out of control.
He wanted these guys dead.
So he handpicked the target that would hurt Harry the Hunchback the most, his brother, Bobby Riccobene. This time, there was no margin for error.
It was like 4 teams that went out. It was like 3, 4 guys in each team.
One team was headed by Scarfo soldier Faffy Einarella. He hunted down Bobby Riccobene on the street.
And what Faffy does, he gets the shotgun, he walks up the street, and he's laying, he's ducking. You know, here comes Bobby and his mother. Faffy starts running toward them. The mother starts screaming.
She grabbed the gun and, you know, she tussled with him.
He butts her with the gun. Bobby starts running. He's pretty chubby, chunky, and he's jumping over the fence. And Faffy shot him with the shotgun.
Bobby Riccobene died on the sidewalk in front of his mother.
I never dreamt of that. They killed one of my brothers, another brother of mine.
They said that's enough. After Robert got killed, Robert Riccobene got killed, they said that's enough.
Harry the Hunchback surrendered his territory to Nicky Scarfo. The war was over, for now.
Typically, only 1 or 2 hitmen are contracted to kill. But Nicodemo Scarfo choreographed a massive attack of hit squads on the Riccobenes. His regular use of his loyal troops earned him a reputation as the most dangerous mafia don in the country. But the next hit on his list was a real challenge. Scarfo's hitmen had to figure out how to murder a widely respected and extremely cautious mob captain.
In 1984, mob hitman Nicky the Crow Caramandi was living the high life in the underworld.
We'd go to a restaurant and they would prepare certain foods for us and everything was special. I mean, we used to spend $4,000 or $5,000 for dinner. Okay, we used to have big dinners, champagne.
Nicky the Crow and his hitman buddies were celebrating the victory they had won for their boss, little Nicky Scarfo, over his enemies, the Riccobene family. With the Riccobenes out of the way, the hitmen could turn their attention from murder to making money. And their vicious reputation certainly made it easier to collect.
In reality, we did anything we wanted to do.
But Scarfo wasn't satisfied with success. The paranoid boss never stopped fearing treason from within his ranks. 6 months after the end of the Riccobene War, that fear focused on an unlikely suspect, his most loyal captain, Salvatore Testa.
Salvi Testa was probably the most charismatic wise guy in Philadelphia. He was the mob prince of Philadelphia. Scarfo, for whatever reason, decided that Salvi Testa was a threat to him. And I think it was his own paranoia, because he saw who Salvi Testa was.
Scarfo became suspicious of Testa, thought that he may be a rival. Well, surprise, surprise, what do you think is going to happen?
Nicky ordered his hit. They called me and Charlie out, and they said, Salvi's got to go. Made the sign of the gun.
The reasons given for killing Testa were vague. It was only clear that Testa was out of favor with the boss, Scarfo.
He wasn't married to the young boss's daughter, and they started saying he was in the drug business and this and that. Hey, orders are orders. He's not doing the right thing. He's got to go. That's it.
But it would not be easy. Salvi Testa was himself an experienced hitman and knew all the moves.
We tried 17 different times in front of his house. Salvi was hip. He knew he was going to get it, but he didn't know who. Now, every time he would see you, he would shake your hand and pat you down, bring you close to feel if you had a gun.
I think Salvi knew that he had a problem, but I'm not sure he realized how bad a problem it was.
But Salvi Testa was too loyal or too blind to go into hiding. He stuck around Philadelphia, moving cautiously, and somehow avoiding a bullet from Nicky the Crow. So Scarfo switched to a new strategy. He approached Testa's circle of closest friends. He wanted someone close to set Testa up for the kill.
If they refused to do it, well, then probably the next one is going to get killed. And so they really don't have a choice once they get involved in that.
The top candidate for this betrayal was Joseph Pungatore. Even though he and Salvi Testa had been friends since childhood, Pungatore set up Testa for the murder. On the pretext of straightening out a gambling debt, Pungatore took Salvi Testa to a meeting at this candy store on South Philly's Passyunk Avenue. Waiting inside was Salvatore Winnie Grande, the same hitman who tried and failed to kill Harry the Hunchback Riccobene in a phone booth.
It's an empty store. Salvi walks in. Winnie's got the gun hidden here. Gives him the shake. Pats him down. And Salvi turns around for a minute to face Joe Punch. And shoots him in the head.
Salvi Testa never saw it coming. He was dead in a matter of minutes.
He laid there for 7 hours. Later that night, me, Charlie, and another fellow go get the body. We wrap him. It's full of blood in this store.
Removing the body was tricky. Salvi Testa was a big man, 6 feet 2 inches tall, and weighed more than 200 pounds.
It was pretty heavy. So what I did, I got a kid. I gave him the signal to put the car in the middle of the street and open up the hood so no cars could get down while we take the body out, so in case a cop is passing by, you know. And threw him in the truck of the car and drove him to Jersey and just threw him on the side of the road.
Another successful hit for Scarfo's assassins. But Testa's murder was also the beginning of the end for Nicky Scarfo. By killing one of the most admired wise guys in the Philly mob, Scarfo had finally gone too far.
That sent a signal, too, to the organization and to the guys who had been around for a long time. If Scarfo can kill Salvi Testa, he can kill anybody.
Even veteran hitman Nicky the Crow Caramandi, who had helped eliminate Salvi Testa, was haunted by Testa's death.
It killed me. I used to get nightmares. I used to wake up screaming. I loved the guy. There was just a fondness that I grew about him, and he used to love me.
In 1986, Nicky the Crow was arrested for shaking down a Philadelphia real estate developer. While in jail, he got word from a fellow mobster that Scarfo was displeased with him, and that could mean only one thing.
He says, "It's this. You're gone." I said, "But why?" "That's all I could tell you," he said. And that's when I decided to turn. It took me like 3 days to think about it. I knew once Scarfo put something in his head that you were gone. There's nothing you could do about it.
Nicky the Crow called the FBI and turned from hitman to rat.
It was symptomatic of the distrust that was inherent in the Scarfo family. They didn't necessarily feel part of a unified family. It was, you know, everyone for himself, basically.
Years as a loyal hitman had made Nicky the Crow a priceless witness. He spilled the beans to the FBI. And in 1987, Nicky Scarfo was arrested and charged with extortion and murder. Nicky the Crow Caramandi took the stand and told a jury everything he knew about Scarfo's murderous regime.
His testimony came across as truthful, and I thought it came across as compelling. We were able to successfully convince the jury that the mob that was in the courtroom and the mobsters committed all these particular crimes.
Nicky the Crow Caramandi joined the Witness Protection Program. Nicky Scarfo was found guilty and sentenced to life in prison.
Murder is part of mafia life. It's a price gangsters pay to live in a world of high profits and little work. And as with many parts of mob life, there are rules for hitmen as well. Each killing must be properly authorized by the boss. Signing such death warrants turned out to be a task for which Scarfo's successor would show real talent.
Look closely. You are witnessing a mob hit in progress. 3 hitmen are entering this Philadelphia diner armed with handguns. As the gunmen leave, they take one last look at their victim, who lies bleeding on the floor. Then they jump in a waiting car. No one is ever charged, but everyone agrees it was a mob hit. It was 1993. Once again, mob hitmen were armed and headed into battle. A battle over who would fill the power vacuum left when little Nicky Scarfo went to prison. This time, the hitmen would not only kill one another, they would begin to tear down the mob's very structure in Philadelphia. On one side, the forces of mob kingpin John Stanfa, who had the blessing of the New York mob. Lined up against Stanfa, Skinny Joey Merlino, Stanfa's one-time soldier and now his rival. Police believe it was Skinny Joey Merlino who ordered the hit at the diner. The target was Stanfa's second-in-command, Joe Cingolini. Although Cingolini survived, he was crippled. Stanfa demanded revenge. He ordered the murder both of Merlino and of Merlino's number 2 man, who just happened to be Joe Cingolini's brother, Mike. The two brothers, in opposing mob factions, were sworn enemies. Stanfa personally outlined the plan for killing the two men. Openly orchestrating a hit is a peculiar move for a mafia don. Usually the boss lets an underling give the actual order, just in case the FBI might be listening in. But Stanfa did it himself. Bad move. The FBI was listening as Stanfa and a soldier, switching back and forth between English and Italian, planned Merlino's murder.
Put it in the dumpsters and then put it in the trunk. Sai che fa? Piglio dentro. Ci fai che legna. Ci mandiamo a moglie. That's it. So, we put in an envelope. Mettiamo stamps.
The FBI must warn any potential victim of a murder if it knows of a plot against his life. And agents did alert Skinny Joey Merlino. Merlino ignored the warning. Meanwhile, to carry out the contract against Skinny Joey Merlino, Stanfa chose a young mafia wannabe named John Vesey.
John Vesey was a South Philly born and bred neighborhood tough guy, and he wasn't very big, but he was tough.
Vesey quickly teamed up with another young would-be mafioso, Philip Coletti. By day, Coletti was a legitimate plumber. By night, a mob hitman. No one in his nearby New Jersey town of Glassboro suspected the double life.
A lot of people didn't know. All of our neighbors loved us. We were constantly working on the house, having barbecues. Every kid in the neighborhood was at our house. It was very normal. And then there was the dark side.
Now, the interesting thing about Phil Coletti is not only Phil Coletti, but his wife Brenda. Brenda, the former nude go-go dancer, is involved in the plots to kill Merlino and the Merlino associates.
It was very unusual. Women aren't supposed to be part of this. They're not supposed to hear things, or if they do, they don't get involved and they just play dumb. But I felt honored. I felt privileged. I enjoyed it. I had a burning desire to be part of it, that thrill and that danger.
The Coletti home was used as a think tank for the hits.
They would come over. I'd be cooking my macaronis and pouring the wine, and we would just be sitting there eating and drinking and plotting these things.
The question was how to kill Merlino and his number 2 man. One of the schemes even included Brenda herself. The plan was for Brenda, armed with poison in an eyedropper, to visit Merlino's favorite hangout.
I was like, I thought about it. I was going to get all dressed up, really sharp, try and look all young and sexy. Ha ha ha. Go down there and shoot some cyanide into their drinks. I had more balls than half the guys that was working for John Stanfa.
But the cyanide plot was vetoed. Instead, the hit team decided to build a bomb. They called their bomb the Egg. Lucky for Merlino, the egg was a dud. The hit team placed it under Merlino's car, and nothing happened.
It's in a box under the car. It won't go off. The car pulls out. It's dragging the box with the bomb underneath it.
So in August 1993, Philip Coletti and John Vesey decided to use the time-honored mafia method, plain old bullets. As Skinny Joey Merlino and his second-in-command walked out of their favorite hangout at 6th and Catherine, Coletti and Vesey opened fire. Michael Cingolini died on the spot.
And they wounded Joey Merlino, shot him in the butt, and then they took off.
Merlino survived.